Hi there! Welcome back, fellow Java enthusiasts! In our previous YouTube video, we took our Spring Boot microservice on a thrilling ride, crafting the foundations with two simple get-web methods. But guess what? The adventure has just begun, and we're about to kick things up a notch. Today, get ready for an epic coding extravaganza, as we delve into the realm of full CRUD functionality for our REST API. We're not stopping at just GET requests, oh no. In this video, we'll be creating all the methods in the REST controller, complete with mappings for get, post, delete, and put. That's right, the whole shebang. Buckle up as we take our service class, repository interface, and our trusty facade, the service helper class, to a whole new level. We're talking about adding the ability to create, read, update, and delete data with precision and efficiency. But hey, we don't just stop there. To ensure our API is robust and battle-tested, we'll be crafting all the requests needed to test every nook and cranny of this mighty REST API using none other than our trusted sidekick Postman. So if you're ready to witness the magic of full CRUD in action, this is the video you've been waiting for. Without further ado, let's dive in, unleash the power of CRUD, and level up our Spring Boot microservice like never before. Are you ready to conquer the world of APIs with full CRUD? Let's do this! Now, let's hand it over to Nico. He's got a Dodecanese accent, but don't worry, he speaks the Queen's English flawlessly. Over to you, Nico.
For this lesson, we have provided a link to our blog page. See below. You need to follow the instructions on this blog page. We are going to be modifying 4 classes in order to give us a full CRUD. What we've also done is we've provided Java doc comments, which we will point out to you, and we would like you to read these comments because this is how we explain how the code works. The first thing we need to do is we need to edit the to-do entity class. So this class sits here, and under model, open the to-do entity class. You need to take all the code here. Right click, copy, and then go here and say Control A, delete, Control V to paste, and save, Control S. After doing this, we then need to go to the to-do service. So if we look here under services, open the to-do service, copy all this code, right to the bottom, copy, Control A, delete, paste, and save. Next, we need to open the to-do helper class. Under helpers, copy all of this code here. Copy, Control A, delete, Control V to paste, Control S to save. Next, we need to edit the REST controller class that sits under controllers here. To do REST controller, copy all this code. Copy, Control A, delete, Control V to paste, Control S to save. Now that we've done that, let's go and look at what we have done. I'm going to start with the to-do entity class. We've added a new method to this, and that is this method here, set to do. What we are doing in this method is we're passing it a to-do object. Then we are calling certain methods of this to-do class and using these to update the values corresponding to the to-do class. So this way I can take my to-do object and pass another instance of a to-do object to that. This will be used for doing updates. So when I want to update the record in the database, I will be calling this method. It will simplify things a lot for us. After we've looked at the to-do class, we now need to look at the service class, the to-do service class that sits under services. Open this class and let's see what we've got here. Find all to-dos. This is a method we've already created. Find all to-dos by ID. This is also a method we created in the previous lesson. Now this is a new method here, delete by to-do ID. How this method works is I pass it a record number. The to-do ID is a record number. And then I go and I call the repositories find by to-do ID method. And I pass it the record number. And it will bring me back a to-do object. Then I call the repository and I say delete and I pass it this object. What will happen now is the repository will run a delete query on the database and then this record will be deleted for that ID. The save method or the create to do method is very simple. I pass it a to do and then I call the repository save method, the to do repository save method, and I pass the object to that. And then the repository will then go and create the record in the database. The toggle to do by completed ID, what I do here, I pass it the to do ID and I call the repository to get a find by to do ID. So I get back a to do ID. Then I go and I look at the get status and I get status. I convert it to uppercase. And what I do now is I'm testing to see if the status is completed, then I will change the status to busy. Otherwise, I will change the status to completed. And then after doing that, I will then save the to-do by calling the to-do repository save method. And I will then also return the to-do back. The next method is the update to-do method that we have just created now. This gets two parameters. It gets an ID as well as a to-do object. What I am doing is I'm using the to-do ID and I'm calling the repository, to-do repository find by ID method, which will return me a found to do. If it doesn't exist, it will throw an exception. I catch the exception here and I'll handle that. And I will then take the to do object that I got and I will use that to set my found to do. In other words, the to do in the database to set the found to do with the to do object. That's the method that we just created in the entity class. So now it's going to take all the values of this object and update this object. After doing that, I call the to do repository save method and I pass it the found to do. So this will be saved in the database and then I return the found to do. So that is how my service class works. Now let's look at the helper class. The helper class calls the service class. What we are doing here, we have an auto-wired object. We are telling the container to give us an instance of this object and calls it to do service. This method we've already had, the find all to do, so that we've already done. Find all by active, we've already done this. So these are existing methods. And find to do by ID is also an existing method. The delete to do by ID is a new method. And this will call the same method in the to do service. We are passing it the to do ID. And we are going to use the to do service delete by to do ID method to get this record deleted. The next method we just added was the toggle complete by to-do ID. We passed it the record ID, and I have just explained how this method works in the to-do service. Depending on whether the state is completed, or if the state is completed, it will change the state to busy. Otherwise, it will change the state to completed. The create to-do method is also a new method. We're passing it the to-do object, and we're calling the to-do service create to-do method. We have explained how that works in the to-do service. This is just a simple call of the next class to get this written to the database, creating us a new record. And then finally, the update to-do. Here we are passing two parameters, the to-do ID as well as a to-do object. And we are doing the same. We're calling the same method in the to-do service, passing it the same parameters, and we've explained how that method works. So this is how the to-do helper class works. Next, we need to look at the controller, the to-do rest controller. I have put here a Java doc comment. This class calls the to-do helper, which is used as a facade to the back-end operations. And we saw that the to-do helper called the to-do service, which called the to-do repository. This was an existing method we had already created in the previous lesson, and the same with this one, and the same with this method. Now we created a new method. Notice that these were all get mappings. Now we created the post mapping. The post mapping is used to create a new record in the database. So if we look here, create to do is the method. The create to do method receives one parameter, and that is a to do object. It gets it by calling the @request body. You need to have this annotation in here, and you also need to have @valid. So it checks to see that it's valid, that there is a request body, and that the request body is valid. And if that is the case, it brings us in an instance of the to-do class, and that is the to-do. So all we now do is call the helper class, the to-do method, which we've just explained, and we pass it this object, and this will now go and be persisted in the back end from the to-do helper class, calling the to-do service class, calling the to-do repository. I'm repeating things, but that's just to get you to understand the way the flow works. After that, we've just created the delete mapping. So here, this is the URL to-dos, and we pass it the ID. The ID is passed in the URL. So here we use a @path variable, and the @path variable will allow me to pick up this value from the path. And the value is going to be called ID. This is the field, and we are going to save it in a variable to do ID of type long. So this is a long integer. Then we call the delete to do by ID method of the helper class, and we pass it the ID. We've already explained how that method works. After the delete mapping, we now have put mappings. Put mappings are used for updating records in the database. So here I have a set completed by to-do ID. So what I'm doing with this, I'm passing it the to-do ID as a parameter in the URL. So the URL will include that. If we look here, this is our URL. And when we test, we're going to be using record 1. So then this will be a 1. And having done that, we now also get a long. We then call the toggle completed by to-do ID method is called from the to-do helper class. Finally, we have a put mapping. This is used for doing the update of the record in the database. So this one contains both the path variable, the to-do ID, which is in the URL here, As well as in the request body, we provide it with the to-do object. This method will call the to-do helper class, which has the update to-do method, and it'll pass it the ID as well as the object of the to-do. And that will create us the update query in the database. It will update the data. Remember, the way we did it is we retrieved the object from the service class. We got an instance of that, and we also compared that with what we passed to it, and we updated the fields. We used the new method in the to-do entity class. So that's where we use that when we call this. Now that we've updated everything, we need to run this so that we can do the testing. It's run as Spring Boot app. Just expand this a bit. There we are, it's running. I've actually explained the steps for doing this. Now that our Spring Boot app is working and running, we want to test it. We are going to test this microservice by using Postman. I have already created the Postman lesson, which we recommend you watch as soon as we have published it.
Thank you so much for joining us in this exhilarating coding journey where we added full CRUD functionality to our Spring Boot microservice. Nico's demonstration was just the beginning of the magic we're unleashing. Today, we learned how to level up our microservice by implementing all the methods in the REST controller, including mappings for get, post, delete, and put. With this powerful combination, our API is now fully equipped to create, read, update, and delete data like a pro. In our next video, we will be learning how to use Postman to test our Spring Boot microservice API with all the CRUD functionality we created. Now we value your thoughts and opinions. Leave us a comment below and let us know what you think of the newly enhanced microservice and our coding journey so far. Your feedback helps us improve and continue delivering top-notch content. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our tech-savvy community. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on our future coding adventures and exciting tech tutorials. For those who want to take their learning experience to the next level, consider becoming a patron of our channel. Our patrons gain exclusive access to our valuable training courses in PDF format, empowering you to become a tech mastermind. Thank you for being a part of our incredible journey. Together, let's conquer the world of APIs and coding with passion and excellence. Stay tuned for the next video, and until then, happy coding.